Okay, thanks. So welcome to our product launch of the Daily Point content bot. Now, let me start with a question. Do you still use target groups? If yes, when you compare yourself then with Booking.com or Amazon, you probably come to the result that you're probably outdated. So why? I will show you and explain in the next minutes. So who we are, Daily Point, we are three founders, started the company 15 years ago, so we're on the market quite a while. Since 2019, we have Accor as one of our shareholders. They just increased their stake from 21 to 27%. We are the only investment of Accor where they accepted a minority stake, so pretty proud of it. And yeah, it's nice to have them as a strategic partner. Daily Point, we develop of the years 16 own modules around the central profile. That's the most important thing we do is we create a central profile based on the huge amount of data hotel companies have today. We cover all the areas for data management, so for real CRM, marketing, operations, and analytics. And we follow also an open API strategy, and we have now close to 200 integrations on our own marketplace using our API and the central profile we create. So yes, who are our guests? Well, our guests are as individual as we are. So when we look at the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, we can understand that in our Western world that the people are all in this upper section and the self-fulfillment needs. So they want to be treated as individuals. And when we look at this nice study from McKinsey, they found out that 78% of consumers are more likely to repurchase from companies that treat them as individuals. So what do our consumers expect? That's probably not pretty new to you, but I think it's important to understand is that they want to get recognized everywhere along the customer journey. They want to really get a value out of the communication of the information. They expect the right timing, and they want individuality. They want to get treated as an individual. So I tried to find some good examples of individual communication in the hotel space. Unfortunately, it's really hard to find some. So therefore, I took an example here from EasyJet, and I took their 20th anniversary email. So a personal story highlighting facts and figures of their travel experiences with EasyJet. I think it's a great example how to create millions of individual emails and deliver individual content to the consumer. Or here, another market leader, Booking.com, how they individualize their retargeting efforts. So for shopping cart abandonment emails, and that's a nice study, 45% open such follow-up emails, 21 click on the links, and even 50% of the people click on the link then finally book. So this shows how valuable an individual retargeting communication is, and it is much more valuable, for instance, compared to banner retargeting. So the current situation, when we look at how hotels communicate, there's a nice study out there from H2C highlighting the most important challenges: technology, data cleansing, lack of data aggregation. So most of the hotels are really suffering and are not able today to provide a personalized experience. So when we look at the marketing and hotels, target groups are everywhere. Monthly newsletters are more or less standardized, so almost everyone gets at the same time the same content. Only a few automations beside pre and post day, and there's a huge gap between the website and the marketing activity. So the result is basically, pretty poor compared to the Amazons and the Booking.coms. So Experian, again, a nice study from here you can find out there an individual approach generates 6 times more transactions than non-personalized emails. So it makes clear we have to become guest-centric, we have to become personalized. So, but the question really is how to become guest-centric, right? How to provide a real one-to-one experience. And this is what we have developed. Well, that's the last piece in the value chain. We developed the content bot, and this is what we want to introduce you today. So most important is, and what is missing, the missing element is the central profile. So when we look at the customer journey, and the IT stacks hotels today have based on a PMS-centric IT stack, we have to realize that a hotel has about 30 different profiles for the same guest. And it's clear that, yeah, you cannot really provide a one-to-one experience when you have a PMS-centric IT strategy. So this is the first thing you have to change. So with dailypoint, we create the central profile above all the systems. So we are basically the centerpiece of an IT strategy. And what we do, and this is extremely important, we create interests. So we create with the dailypoint profile engine interest, and we weight the interests. So I'm sorry for the test data here. What we basically do is we use machine learning and artificial intelligence to say, okay, what is the main interest of this guest? What's the second interest? What's the third interest? What's the fourth interest? So we know exactly what are the interests and what are their main interests. And we create this fully automatically using all the information, all the data we collect from multiple sources. We're like Google, collecting data from everywhere in the hotel environment. So AI goals, also a nice study from H2C from the beginning of this year, improving guest experience, increasing profitability. So these are the main goals when using AI. And dailypoint is one of the top 5 AI innovators in the hotel industry. Pretty proud of it because we are only the only one who really owner-driven, where a real person is still running and owns the company. So what makes data a real value? I think this is a good question, because when you look at the value of a booking.com and compare it to the Hiltons and Accors and then also Marriott's, you will realize that the top 5 biggest hotel chains in the world are not as much value, or don't have the same value like the Booking Holding. And the Booking Holding only is able consists of data. So what makes data valuable? Data, you have to transform into information, knowledge, but then this is where the bookings and the Amazons are so good, is they use the knowledge they have created to drive value. This is what we can do with the content bot, or what you can do basically with the content bot. So there's a 4-step approach. Number one is, first of all, you have to consolidate all relevant systems. Otherwise, with 30 different profiles, it just makes no sense. So that's the basic thing. Consolidate all relevant systems, create one central profile, then use AI to create the interest, to weight the interest. That's also important. Without weighted interest, it makes no sense. And then the 4th step, the final step, is then use the content bot for an individualized, fully individualized communication experience. So how does it work? So first of all, of course, you have a header and a footer in your email, and then you create multiple content pieces. And you can tag the content piece and say, okay, look, this content piece is for golfers, this is for spa users, this is for families, this is for business travelers, this is for whatever. So all the different interests you have. Then let's say the 150, 200,000 recipients of your email goes into the content bot, and then the content bot looks into each individual profile, picks the content, and puts it in the right sequence. And I think that's the extremely important. It's not that you only integrate the right content, it's also in the right sequence. So the main interest is on top, then the second interest, then the third interest. So you deliver 100,000 individual email newsletters to your recipients and make sure that the content really meets the expectations of your guests. So how does it look like? So here's a a little video we created this morning. So first we create the content pieces. You say, okay, this is for which property. Then you create the interests or tag the interests. Say, okay, which languages you want to create this content, and then click just on create. Then of course you have a drag and drop menu. You can say, okay, how does it should it look like the content piece? In this case, you have an image left. The text is on the right side, and basically that's it. This is how easy it is to create content pieces. So here you see all the different content pieces with all the different interests. And now in the next step, you go into your newsletter, update your newsletter, and you just click on this piece here, use content pieces. And when you have this and enable this, you can say, okay, how many content pieces you want to include in your email as a maximum. So let's say you create 20 different content pieces. It makes no sense to create such a long email. You say, well, out of this 20 different content pieces, I first identify the 4 or 5 most important ones. So if we have a recipient who has only 1, 2, or 3 interests, then it will pick the most important content pieces and add this at the end. Or if you have a total new subscriber, total unknown subscriber, it then takes the default pieces you define here. So basically, that's it. So the content bot then creates a communication experience which is as individual as your guest in a very nice look and feel. Of course, your agency is creating the look and feel, but the daily point system, of course, can develop it. So let's summarize it. Well, there's this nice phrase, data is the new oil, but, and I think that's important, intelligence is needed to get petrol out of it. And it's the same with data. So data is, when you say it in a different way, you can say data is a raw material, and you have to process the data to make it meaningful and valuable. So the content bot is a big step really to turn data into a company asset to drive value on data. So of course, this all only works in a forward-oriented IT stack. As I said before, the central profile should be the key element of an IT strategy. It must work perfectly together with the other 2 platforms, the PMS for the transactions, the CRS for the distribution, all the systems below, which make sense to connect to the different platforms. But the central element is the central profile. And of course, you have to do it and cover the whole customer journey from phase 1, the inspiration phase, until phase 9, the loyalty phase. So that's come to an end. So what I can hope is that you are a warrior and not a warrior. Saying that, thank you so much. If you have any questions, please let me know. If not, Nadia will send you the presentation.